Hello, Aries, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of July 13th through the 19th. And during that time, we will have a waning gibbous moon. And a waning gibbous is a really good time for self-reflection, rebirth, a good time to make positive changes, and just have that potential to grow. So we're going to get rid of bad habits, negative thinking, and work towards achieving our goals and our accomplishments. So a good time to be doing that. We do have the last quarter moon that comes in on the 18th or the 19th, depending on where you are. And that's a really good time for reflection, releasing what no longer serves us and preparing for the new cycle ahead of us. So pay attention to those moon energies as we move through the week. This will be your weekly reading for the week of July 13th through 19th. And it will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Aries. So, of course, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't for someone else. And your overall message for this reading: conclusions are within reach. All right, let's see what the Aries Collective has going on for the week. As I'm shuffling, I would like to let you know my weekly reminder is that you take time to meditate this week. Go within, still yourself, quiet your mind, and just explore. If you already do this, you know what I mean. If meditation is not something that you practice, then maybe it's a good week to start this week. So give that a try. So even if it's just a few minutes, try to start working that into your daily routine, and just see what happens. That's my weekly reminder for you. All right, Aries, without further ado, July 13th through 19th, conclusions are within reach. Let's see what you guys have going on. Your present energy. All right, 10 of Cups. Great energy to have. Very positive. One of the most positive cards in the deck. Everyone's just happy, healthy, and doing well. And life is very fulfilling for you right now. So great energy to be starting off with. Your current situation is the moon. So within all this sun and happiness, here comes a little bit of I don't want to say darkness, but just, the moon card is about, the night, the mystery, what's out there that we can't see, that we can't really put our finger on. And it could be, things that you're having dreams about, but this is, kind of intuitive things that, where the thoughts might be a little bit foggy, you're kind of having feelings about things, but it's just hard to really put them into words, or to really clarify exactly what it is. So this is something, where you just want to kind of pay attention to the signs of the universe and what's going on around you, to just kind of get clarity for yourself. At the root of this situation is the 9 of Wands. So it looks like you're kind of looking back on something that you've recently been through, and maybe that's where that intuition is trying to come in and make an appearance there to give you some sort of clarity. But you're kind of looking back and kind of doing that evaluation. I said, here we are in the waning gibbous energy, and that's kind of what this, that moon energy is about, is kind of looking back and being reflective, and putting things in order. What really happened, maybe something has been going on, and you're just trying to make sense of everything. So that's kind of the root of where this energy is coming from there. In your recent past, okay, so 5 of Wands, this could have been, or I'm sorry, 5 of Swords could have been some sort of argument, maybe words that were exchanged with someone. This could have been, an argument with your spouse, or, some discussion with friends, or something going on at work. But it looks like some words were exchanged. This card is typically taught to us tarot readers as winning through deceit or underhanded tactics. I tend to take a different view. I mean, it is air energy, and I do just see that it is an exchange of words. I don't know if this person is really winning. They do definitely have a little smirk, a little smile on their face, but it's like words were definitely said. Now, are you smiling because you needed to say those words? Maybe. Are you holding some things back? Perhaps. But it looks like feelings were hurt. Interesting that you're kind of trying to make sense of all of that now. If it was some sort of, like I said, discussion, argument, something going on, but you're trying to look at the bigger picture of it now. What is on your mind is the Death card. So some sort of ending is on your mind, and this could be, was this some, argument with a friend, and you're thinking, I'm done. maybe a family member. I'm done. There's something where, you may be getting the intuition that you're looking back over time and thinking this is something that has happened time and time and time again, this exchange of words, and you're just ready to let it go. I mean, that is what the death card is. Of course, and it's on your mind. It doesn't mean that you've made that decision yet, but you might be leaning towards that. And that might be something that you're mulling over, and that's something that your intuition is telling you to do, is saying, you know what? It's time to cut this cord and be done, because you're looking back on how this relationship has come through for you in the or not come through for you actually, but there's been exchanges of words and things, and you're just kind of getting to the point where you don't want to deal with it anymore. You're just kind of done. Completely understandable. What is just ahead of you is temperance. So you're making this decision from a good balanced place. This is a card of being inspired. This is a card of fulfillment. This is being very, very centered and balanced. Trying to do things that are of the highest of value. um and just really having purpose in the things and the decisions that you make. It's keeping that balance between the emotional world and the real world. There's one foot here, one foot on dry land, and one foot in the watery, waters of emotion there. So it's trying to keep that balance between the two, like what is real and what is emotions, and trying to just separate those, but keeping a good balance between all of that. In your advice position is Four of Pentacles here, which really represents stability. Um, And I think that's what you seek. And I think, with this temperance card, conclusions are within reach was your overall reading card here. Yeah, I think you just want stability. And maybe at the next time that you meet this person or have to encounter this person, you don't want this exchange of words and that exchange of that negative energy, and having to, either defend yourself. So you just want stability. And I think that is maybe the question you want to ask yourself. It's in your advice, is to go ahead and gain, keep that in the forefront of what your decision making is about this entire situation, is your stability. And maybe it's just your mental stability. This card is typically a card about, the material world and financial stability, but I don't think that applies here in this situation. I really do think it's about your mental stability. What is the best thing for you to do to maintain, emotional balance, balance in the world, and your emotional stability, and just worldly stability, mental stability. What is beyond your control is feeling like you against the world. So, and I'm only laughing. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you because of the tarot. Because when these cards come out and the story comes out like this one, it's just, to me, so it's just plain as day that you do have an opinion on this, and maybe, like I said, you want to cut ties and cut and run, and you may have some other people who are going to come up against you and argue that a little bit. You're going to feel kind of like you against the world. You've got to defend your space, but you know the best for you. You know what's going to best lead to your own mental stability and your own emotional and just stability and balance within the world. So you kind of just have to do the thing that you want to do, and let's not worry so much about what all the other people are trying to tell you. You're feeling like you against the world. You're feeling like the cheese that stands alone. And I'm here to tell you, go ahead and just take your stand. It'll be fine. What is your secret desire? What you're trying to avoid is feeling like an outsider. Yeah. So, again, these cards that come up with pentacles, but they have so much more to say than more about the material world, especially in a reading like this, that the stability and this feeling like an outsider, because you've got this you against the world, and you have a very strong opinion on this. And all you want is, you just want to maintain this happiness. You just want to maintain your happiness, your stability. And if there's some sort of interrupter coming in that's keeping you from doing that, I think you have to cut ties with it. You just do. It doesn't have to be permanent. I mean, death is permanent, but the death card leads this. An ending always leads to a new beginning. And in this case, if you cut this off, um it may take time to heal, but you may be able to heal that relationship later on down the line. Could be. You can always leave that possibility open. What is in your outcome position is the Emperor, which is also a four. So here we are with the stability, and this is also that card of just the perfect stability of being a leader, being the authority on something, getting something done in a systematic manner, being very established. This is someone who can, just build things, just get things done, who has completely a clear vision in their mind of how something needs to be done. And that's in your outcome. And that's the epitome of any sort of stability there. So, I think you have to make this decision. I think you already know what the decision is. That's why it's on your mind, and you're just kind of letting your intuition guide you there. But again, maybe looking for those other signs from the universe. So just keep your eyes open for those today. So, all right, Aries, what is hidden from you is the Ace of Cups. So, yeah, I think emotionally, um, yeah, there's no other, there's not one cup in this reading, which is interesting. The fact, well, besides the cups that the Temperance card is holding, which is that balance, right, between the two. And this, not only, it's hidden from your entire reading except for here, which is your ultimate happiness. So I think that's also very telling. I think it just means that you're not feeling a lot of emotion about this. This is very cut and dried. This is very logical for you. Again, this is very systematic, like the Emperor, and it's about your stability. So, I mean, woe is the person who is the person that's at the start of this, because I think you're just done. You're done. I didn't blame you. Let's get a final word here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final word for Aries. Conclusions are within reach, which I feel like it is just a cut off. Sometimes that has to be. Be open to love. And, be open to your love. Be open to the things that make you happy and healthy and within your own family, right? You have to be open to that and open to protecting that as well. Let's get a self-care wisdom card here. What sort of self-care does Aries need to take in mind this week as they go through this situation? And the card that comes up here is security. Let's see what this card says. True security comes from having a reserve of time, space, energy, personal power, and love. Make deposits in all of these accounts and you'll be a wealthy person indeed. Wow. So, is that taking from your account? Having this person there that brings up this argument that makes you want to not deal with it anymore, that you've kind of lost love for. It's just not in the cards for you to be feeling in that situation. And again, if you're going to cut this off, I don't blame you, and you can leave that space in the future for for things to improve. But it looks like the conclusions that are in reach, you are seeking them out, with your intuition, with paying attention to the synchronicities, to your dreams, and you're going to be open to love. But again, is that love, your self love, and this is personal power. You're a reserve of your time, space, and energy. That's what true stability and true security is about. So, Aries, I wish you the best of luck with this situation. I know situations like this aren't easy. Sometimes it looks like you do come to a conclusion with this. Conclusions are within reach, and I feel like at the end you're feeling very, very stable and very decisive about it. You're making that decision. So I do hope there was something in this reading that you can take away and use. I do post weekly readings, so feel free to join me next week and we'll see if this energy, the story continues, or if there's a completely new energy here for you. Also, if you like my channel, please like and subscribe. It really does help my channel. And of course, it'll help you find me next week. So thanks so much, Aries, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.